What if the world's greatest breakthroughs were never about talent at all? What if every genius, every so-called outlier, every man etched in the stone of history wasn't smarter, luckier, or born for it, but simply more obsessed than you were willing to be? Because that's the truth no one wants to hear. You weren't defeated by failure. You were outlasted by someone more obsessed. There is a story behind every revolution, and it never begins with applause. It begins in the silence, in the madness, in the obsession no one else could understand. Elon Musk wasn't chosen by fate. He chose himself. At 17, he left South Africa alone with nothing but a belief that America was the cradle of innovation. While most were chasing comfort, he chased chaos. He wasn't drawn to easy problems, he hunted the impossible. Building rockets, rewiring cars, colonizing Mars. And here's what most people will never accept. Elon didn't succeed despite being obsessed. He succeeded because of it. Obsession is the engine behind every empire. It is the root of Edison working 10,000 failures into a single filament of light. It is the fury in Lincoln writing speeches by candlelight while his country burned. It is the refusal to compromise, the inability to quit, the mindset that says, if it destroys me, so be it. But I will not stop. Do you feel that? That edge of discomfort rising in your chest? That's your mediocrity resisting its death. Because this isn't a feel-good sermon. This is warfare for your potential. You were not made to live a balanced life. You were not born to coast. You were not placed on this earth to maintain anything. The universe does not reward moderation. It rewards the outlier, the unreasonable, the one willing to lose sleep, miss parties, be misunderstood for years, and still keep building, still keep moving. You say you want it, but you check your phone every 10 minutes. You escape to Netflix every time the work gets hard. You let opinions dictate your confidence. And the worst part? You call it normal. Normal? Normal is why 99% die with their dreams unbuilt. Normal is why empires never rise. Normal is the graveyard where your legacy goes to rot. But obsession? Obsession builds cathedrals that take generations to forget. You see, Elon didn't stop after PayPal. He was already rich. He could have retired, vanished, bought an island. Instead, he doubled down on chaos. He put everything into Tesla. He threw his last million into SpaceX. At one point, he couldn't even afford rent. That's not reckless. That's a man possessed by purpose. That's a man who said, I'd rather go broke trying to move humanity forward than live rich watching it stay still. And here's where the truth cuts deepest. You already have the idea. You already know the work. What you're missing is the rage, the internal war that says, I'm not going back, I'm not playing small, I'm not here to blend in, I'm here to take over. History never asked the comfortable to lead. It never handed greatness to the cautious. It took the obsessed, the ones willing to lose their mind, lose their reputation, lose everything, and build anyway. You're not tired. You're uninspired. You're not unqualified. You're undercommitted. Because obsession isn't about working harder. It's about becoming the mission. It's waking up before the sun and not needing an alarm. It's rewriting a plan 50 times until it breaks. It's sacrificing now so that generations later, They speak your name with reverence. You want legacy? Then burn the blueprint. Stop waiting for clarity. Clarity comes after commitment. You want freedom? Then chain yourself to the craft. Be so focused they mistake it for madness. Be so relentless they think you've lost control. Because the truth is you have. You've lost control to something greater. The version of you that refuses to die average. This world does not need another consumer. It needs a builder. And builders don't take breaks when they're tired. They take over when they're doubted. So let the others scroll. Let them rest. Let them dream. You're going to build obsession. And with it, you will destroy every limit that ever stood between you and greatness. Every day you hesitate, the world inches past you. Every time you doubt, someone else seizes your future. And every moment you delay your obsession, you extend the life of your excuses. But here's the molten core of truth that melts mediocrity into molten steel. Obsession is not optional. It is the gravitational pull that drags reality toward your will. Elon Musk didn't manage his time, he weaponized every second. He treated minutes like missiles launched at the stronghold of impossibility. He didn't build rockets by accident. He built them by refusing to let failure be an endpoint. Imagine your mind as a battleground. On one side, fatigue, distraction, comfort, doubt. On the other, focus, purpose, relentless action, belief. And in the center, your choice. Will you surrender to the easy path, or will you charge the uphill with fire in your lungs? Obsession demands sacrifice. It demands you trade fleeting pleasure for long-term impact. It demands you bleed discipline into your bones until laziness is foreign. It demands you become the tireless engine, not the idling car. Musk slept 3 hours a night when he launched SpaceX rockets. Not because he glorified burnout, but because he understood that every hour he didn't devote was a victory for limitation. History worships the winners, but it is forged by the ones who choose pain over the comfort of good enough. It echoes with the footsteps of those who refused to rest until they'd carved their vision into the bedrock of possibility. You think impact is about grand gestures. It's not. It's the relentless whisper of action day after day. It's solving the same problem 1,000 ways until you break through. It's rewriting the meaning of impossible with every blood-drenched prototype. You weren't born for safe dreams. You were born for epic nightmares that ended in triumph. You weren't made to blend into the background. You were designed to light the sky. Let the doubters stand by and watch. Let realists chastise your zeal. They're spectators in your revolution, and that's their only role. Because when obsession takes hold, you stop competing with them. You start obliterating the very concept of competition. You become the standard. You become the storm. Feel that heat in your chest? That's the call to arms. That's the ignition. That's the moment you either rise or you settle forever. So make this vow: I will not rest until my vision is reality. I will not back down when comfort beckons. I will not stop building until I have no limits left to destroy. Stand up, lean into the fire, and become the living embodiment of obsession. Because when you do, you don't just change your life, you recode the universe around you. They will say you're too intense, too driven, too consumed. Let them talk. While they sleep, you build. While they party, you plot. While they scroll and waste hours, you sculpt hours into monuments. Obsession is the fuel that turns midnight into momentum. It's the force that takes one idea and crashes it through 10,000 obstacles. It doesn't beg for motivation. It becomes the motivation. Look at any revolutionary. Da Vinci, Tesla, Jobs, Musk. They weren't balanced. They were possessed, not by madness but by clarity. Clarity of purpose so sharp it cut through doubt like a blade. They didn't negotiate with excuses. They declared war on them. Elon faced ridicule. The smartest in the room told him he was insane, that reusable rockets were science fiction, that electric cars were toys, that brain-machine interfaces belonged in movies. But visionaries don't argue with skeptics. They prove them wrong with action. And that's what you must become. Proof that limits are illusions. Your dream, whatever it is, doesn't need approval. It doesn't need validation. It needs execution soaked in obsession. Burn the plan B. Delete the backup dream. Cut the lifeline that ties you to the average. Because obsession doesn't whisper. It roars. It's what wakes you up before the alarm. It's what silences the inner critic. It's what shouts louder than fear when you're standing at the edge. And yes, it will cost you. Friends who don't understand. Sleep you'll sacrifice. Comfort you'll abandon. But in return, you'll own your name in the timeline of history. Because you weren't born to maintain. You were born to magnify. You weren't born to float. You were born to fire through the atmosphere and punch holes in the sky. The world doesn't owe you a stage. You build your own, with calloused hands, with relentless effort, with obsession so fierce it makes mediocrity flee. So ask yourself, are you still waiting for the right moment, or are you ready to create it? Because the ones who change the world don't wait for the wind to shift. They become the storm. So stand tall, dig deeper, silence the noise, and become the human embodiment of obsession. That's what Elon did. That's what the 99% never will. And that's what you are about to become. Now go. Build obsession. Destroy limits. And don't stop until your breath becomes a legacy.